Hello dear students, today we are going to discuss the important chapter in the endocrinology, that is estrogen and the various agonist and antagonist of the estrogen. Okay, so we are all aware that estrogen and the progesterone are the female sex hormones, while the androgen is the male, that is the testosterone is the male sex hormone. So in the first lecture we will cover about the estrogen and its agonist and antagonist. Then in the next lecture we will cover the progesterone and its antagonist. Then in the third lecture we will cover about the various contraceptives, especially focusing on oral contraceptive. And then in the last lecture we will cover the various testosterone. In the today's lecture, we are going to cover the various natural as well as synthetic estrogens. Okay, then how the estrogen secretion is regulated, then various mechanism of actions of estrogen endogenously in the body, then mechanism of action and pharmacokinetics of the exogenous estrogen which we are giving from outside, then various preparations and doses of estrogen which are available in the market. Then we will see the adverse effects of estrogen, and then come the most important part, that is the uses of estrogen. And remember, the estrogen is currently indicated mainly for two purposes. As a first, as a hormonal contraceptive, mainly in the oral contraceptive as a combined contraceptive pill with progesterone, and the second is hormonal replacement therapy for post-menopausal woman. Okay, I am sure that you understand the meaning of menopause in the woman who have ceased its menstrual function. Okay, so that is a menopause which usually occurs at the age of average of 47 to 52. Okay, so roughly you can say at the age of 50 the menopause happens, and after that the estrogen level obviously is not there, as the ovaries have started stop the functioning, and that is the use of estrogen, that is a hormone replacement therapy. And then in the last we will cover some estrogen receptor antagonistic drug, that is called anti-estrogen. And this is a newer terminology, that is a SERM, which is a selective estrogen receptor modulator. Okay, on which a short note can be asked. So first we will see the classification of various estrogen and the related drugs. The estrogens, they are present in the one in the natural form and one in the synthetic. So there are total three forms of estrogen in the natural, that is estradiol, estrone and estriol. Okay, estradiol, which contains two hydroxyl group, and estrogen chemical structure is somewhat like the cholesterol because they are synthesized from cholesterol. So you know that the structure of the cholesterol. So estrone and the estriol. So estriol contains three hydroxyl group. That's one I trial. So estradiol, estrone and estriol, out of which estradiol is the most potent estrogen which is secreted from the ovary. Then there are certain synthetic estrogens, in that one is having the steroidal structure and the another is having a non-steroidal structure. Steroidal are ethinyl estradiol. Ethinyl group is added to the estradiol, mestranol and tebolone, while non-steroidal include the diethylstilbestrol, hexastrol and dinestrol. This is somewhat difficult to remember in the first reading. You have to give a 3 or 4 reading for remembering these names. Then there is a next drug is a estrogen receptor antagonist, that is a anti-estrogen. Okay, there are two types of receptor for estrogen, ER alpha and ER beta. ER means estrogen receptor alpha and estrogen receptor beta. So estrogen receptor antagonist drug is clomiphene citrate. Okay, but it may have some agonistic action on some sites. Okay, then the next comes the selective estrogen receptor down regulator, and this is called as a pure estrogen antagonist, and the drug is fulvestrant. Next comes the selective estrogen receptor modulator, Why the term modulator? Because these are the drugs which may have agonistic action at some sites and antagonistic action at some sites. That's why instead of down regulator or up regulator, the word modulator is used. There are three drugs in this, and this is called as a SERM, okay, selective estrogen receptor modulator, on which a short note can be asked. The drugs are tamoxifen citrate, torimifen, and raloxifene. While the last class of the drugs which have been recently discovered is a aromatase inhibitors. Okay, there are three drugs in this: letrozole, anastrozole, and exemestane. We will discuss what is the aromatase, but this is the one enzyme which is responsible for conversion of testosterone and androstenedione, that is androgens, into the estrogen. So these are the drugs which can prevent the conversion of the testosterone or androgen into the estrogen. Okay, and they are mainly responsible or used in the breast cancer. So letrozole, anastrozole, and exemestane. So moving further, the you can see, coming to the natural estrogen, you can see this is a structure, a chemical structure of estradiol. So you can see the 2-hydroxyl group here. So estradiol is the major estrogen which is secreted by the ovary. Remember, naturally 90% of estrogen is secreted from the ovary, while only 10% is secreted from the peripheral tissues, just like the, you can say, adipose tissue or the liver or other sites. In the ovary, the estrogen, means that is estradiol, it is synthesized mainly from the Graafian follicle, corpus luteum, and placenta whenever there is a pregnancy. And the main source from where the estrogen is secreted is from the cholesterol. Okay, so most of the sex hormones and the corticosteroid or mineralocorticoid, that is the steroids, they are secreted from the synthesized from the cholesterol. You know, Graafian follicle, first there is a primary follicle, and then under the influence of various hormones which are secreted from anterior pituitary, that is the FSH and LH, this Graafian primary follicle goes on maturing and develop into the Graafian follicle. So in the Graafian follicle is responsible for the secretion of the estrogen. Here I just want to tell something about the female reproductive tract, which you already learned in the 12th and as well as in the first year. That is, it has a uterus, fallopian tubes, ovary, okay, vagina, external genital organs like vulva and the clitoris. Then in the menstrual cycle there are main 4 phases of the menstrual cycle, and which generally last for 28 days. Okay, so the first 5 days phase is a menstrual phase. Then next phase up to the 14 days is the follicular phase, or we also call it as a pre-ovulatory phase. And in that phase there is a development of the Graafian follicle under the influence of FSH. And in this phase there is a main role of estrogen for the development of this Graafian follicle. Then we know on the 14th day mostly the ovulation occurs and the ova gets released by the rupture of Graafian follicle. And if the fertilization occurs, then there are the series of events like the fertilization, implantation, and the other things. Otherwise, if the fertilization does not occur, then the Graafian follicle, you can say, goes on converting into the corpus luteum. Okay, and this corpus luteum is mainly responsible for the secretion of estrogen to some extent, and mainly the secretion of progesterone in the post ovulatory phase, which is also called as a secretory phase, till the 2 days before the menstruation. Then also the corpus luteum starts regressing, and there is a decline in the level of estrogen and the progesterone, and because of that after 2 days the menstrual bleeding occurs, and again the next cycle of menstrual phase will start. This is the roughly the idea of the menstrual cycle. So estradiol, which is the main potent estrogen secreted by the ovary, it is rapidly oxidized in a liver to estrone, while it is hydroxylated to form the estriol. A third OH group is attached, hydroxyl group is attached to form the estriol. But estrone and estriol, they are the weak estrogen as compared to estradiol. All of them are found in the blood, and estradiol is the most potent estrogen. Okay, but what happens in the males, small quantity of estrogen is derived in human males also. So though they are the female sex hormone, estrogen and the progesterone, but small quantity is also produced in human males, and that I already told you by the aromatization of the testosterone in the testis and extraglandular tissues. There is an aromatic A ring which is present in the structure of the testosterone, and by aromatization of that A ring, estrogen is produced with the help of aromatase enzyme. This is the that aromatization which I have told you, that androstenedione, it is converted into the estrone, and testosterone, it is converted into the estradiol by the ring A aromatization with the help of aromatase enzyme. And you know, estradiol, it is oxidized in the liver to estrone, while it is hydroxylated with the to form estriol. So these are the three forms of the estrogen. Now coming to the synthetic estrogens, we have seen the natural estrogens, estradiol, estrone and estriol, but these natural estrogens, they are inactive by oral route, and they have very short duration of action due to rapid metabolism in the liver, and that's why there is a need of synthetic estrogens. Okay. But one thing, though natural estrogens are inactive orally, we can give them by injectable routes or by other routes like the vaginal or transdermal routes. So they can be very well given by the injectable routes, transdermal route and vaginal route, but not by oral route. For the oral routes, we have a synthetic estrogens. In that, we have already seen a steroidal structure and non-steroidal structure. In the steroidal, we have ethinyl estradiol, and you have to remember this estrogen, ethinyl estradiol, because this is the most commonly used estrogen in oral contraceptive pill or OC pill. Ethinyl estradiol, a ethinyl group is added to the estradiol structure, due to which its liver metabolism is very much inhibited, or first pass metabolism is inhibited in the liver. Mestranol and Tibolone. Okay, while in the non-steroidal there are three drugs: diethylstilbestrol, which is also called as a stilbestrol, hexastrol and dinestrol. These are very less used in the therapeutics. Now coming to the regulation of secretion, almost 10 to 100 microgram per day of estrogen is secreted daily, and there are the various phases. So follicular phase, before going to this, just about the hypothalamus and pituitary and the ovary. From the hypothalamus, GnRH, that is a gonadotropin releasing hormone, is released, and because of the pulsatile nature of the GnRH, it stimulates the anterior pituitary to secrete the gonadotropins. There are two gonadotropins, FSH and LH. FSH, that is a follicle stimulating hormone, and LH, that is a luteinizing hormone. Obviously, FSH is responsible for the maturation and the development or proliferation of Graafian follicle, and LH is responsible for ovulation, luteinizing hormone. So secretion starts from the Graafian follicle under the influence of FSH in the follicular phase. Now we are talking about estrogen, and the blood level rises gradually till the 14th day. Okay. On a 14th day, ovulation occurs in ovulatory phase. Due to pre-ovulatory FSH surge, estrogen further rises transiently. While in secretory phase after ovulation, corpus luteum continues to secrete estrogen till about 2 days before the menstruation. Means till about the 26 days, क्योंकि 28 days तक menstruation cycle रहता है. Okay. So estrogen is having feedback inhibition of FSH. So this is very important to understand. If we have to reduce the FSH from anterior pituitary or GnRH from hypothalamus, we have to give the high doses of estrogen, or we have to give the exogenous estrogen. So exogenous estrogen, what it will do? It will cause the feedback inhibition of FSH by direct action on pituitary as well as through the hypothalamus. On the contrary, if we are giving estrogen receptor antagonist, then they will increase the FSH and LH. Okay. Then in the pregnancy also, the estrogen is secreted from the placenta, and that secretion is very high as compared to the normal reproductive phase, that is a 30 milligram per day. Okay, but their levels declines sharply after the delivery of the fetus. In the post-menopausal woman, okay, when the ovaries have stop functioning, and we know 90% of estrogen comes from the ovary. So instead of 10 to 100 microgram of estrogen, the daily production of estrogen is only 2 to 10 microgram, and that is not from the ovary, that is from the extraglandular aromatization of adrenal androgens. Okay. Now coming to the actions of estrogen. First, on a sex organs, it will be responsible for growth of uterus, fallopian tubes, and vagina. Then vaginal epithelium gets thickened, stratified, and cornified. And that is why the reason that after menopause, in the post-menopausal woman, they suffer from urogenital atrophy due to dryness and the thinning of vaginal epithelium as estrogen is absent. Okay. Proliferation of endometrium in the pre-ovulatory phase is the one action which is a double-edged sword, though it is beneficial. But if we are giving estrogen exogenously for long term, then they will be responsible for endometrial proliferation, and in some cases it may get converted into endometrial carcinoma. That's why estrogen alone is not given for the long term for any purpose. Okay. If estrogen is given continuously without the progesterone, menstruation is delayed, but breakthrough bleeding though still occur at irregular intervals. Normal menstrual bleeding occurs due to progesterone withdrawal. Okay, whenever we withdraw the progesterone, then after that menstrual bleeding occurs. But if we are not giving the progesterone, still the menstrual bleeding will occur with the withdrawal of estrogen. But that is not a proper bleeding, you can say as a breakthrough bleeding. Then estrogen also increases the rhythmic contraction of fallopian tube and uterus, which will be responsible for the movement of ova from the fallopian tubes into the uterus, and it also induces the watery alkaline secretion from the cervix, and all these things will be favorable for the sperm penetration and the you can say reproduction. Estrogen also sensitizes the uterus to the oxytocin, which is the main hormone responsible for the um, contraction of the uterus during the delivery or during the pregnancy and the delivery of the fetus. Deficiency of estrogen, as I told you, responsible for atropic changes or dryness in the female reproductive tract that occurs after the menopause. So one of the symptoms of menopause is the urogenital atrophy. Okay. Next action of estrogen on secondary sexual character, it will be responsible for growth of the breast, feminine body contour, then growth of pubic as well as axillary hair. But estrogen can cause acne due to small and also that occurs because of the small amount of androgens. That's why in the girls in the puberty who are suffering from acne, and when the other available options of the acne like the you can say retinoic acid or the adapalene or the keratolytic drugs, they are not giving to good effect or the response is not there, then the estrogen and the progesterone combined pill or estrogen hormonal therapy can be given in the girls to suppress the acne, because administration of estrogen can suppress the pituitary gonadal axis and causes the regression of acne. Okay, estrogen बाहर से दे रहे हैं क्योंकि अंदर का estrogen कम करना है और androgen कम करना है, इसलिए by suppressing the hypothalamus and pituitary. Next is the metabolic effects of estrogen. It causes the fusion of epiphyses of the long bones, and because of that there may be the reduction of stature, okay, or reduction of height. So this is something counterproductive. But the estrogen is very important for maintaining the bone mass, and it is a positive for bone. Means what? It maintains the bone mass primarily by retarding the bone resorption. रिसॉर्प्शन को इनहिबिट करता है, उसके वजह से बोन मास मेंटेन होता है. And you know in the bone there are two types of cells, osteoclast and osteoblast. So this osteoclast pit formation is inhibited. Okay, and it also reduces the maturity of osteoclast and accelerate their apoptosis, means उनका सेल डेथ कर देता है. So osteoclast को inhibit करता है, उनके maturation को और उनका apoptosis promote करता है. And on the other hand it stimulates the osteoblast. So that's why estrogen is important in preventing the osteoporosis as well as to some extent in treating the osteoporosis in the post-menopausal woman mainly. Okay, it causes the increased expression of the bone matrix protein. It also promotes the positive calcium balance partly by inducing the renal hydroxylase enzyme which generates the active form of vitamin D. Next, there are some side effects also. It causes mild salt and water retention and edema. The blood pressure may rise after prolonged therapy of estrogen. When we are giving the oral contraceptive pills containing the estrogen and progesterone both, they impair the glucose tolerance. Though they cannot, though diabetes, new onset of diabetes may not be there, but the existing diabetes may be worsened or precipitated. Okay. Estrogen decreases the plasma LDL cholesterol while HDL and the triglyceride levels are raised. So, though triglyceride level raising is not beneficial, but decreasing the LDL and HDL and increasing the HDL, that is high density lipoprotein, is very much beneficial, especially for preventing the atherosclerosis and certain cardiovascular problems like coronary artery disease and MI. Okay. But blood coagulability is increased due to the synthesis of various clotting factors from the liver, especially 2, 7, 9 and 10, and that increases the risk of venous thromboembolism. And this is the one of the major side effects of estrogen apart from endometrial carcinoma risk. Okay, increased risk of venous thromboembolism. One of the good effects is increases the nitric oxide synthesis which will be responsible for vasodilatation, but it increases the lithogenicity of bile by increasing the cholesterol secretion and reducing the bile secretion. Okay, because of which there is an increased risk of gallstone. So overall there are certain there are certain side effects associated with the estrogen like increased risk of gallstone, increased risk of venous thromboembolism, there may be a rise in the blood pressure and edema. Okay, but there are certain good effects also which we have already seen. Now coming to the mechanism of action, this estrogen, whether it is a natural or exogenous, it will combine with estrogen receptor which are present in the nucleus of the cells. This estrogen receptor, that is ER in the short form, they are present in female sex organ like uterus, fallopian tube, ovary, vagina, breast, pituitary, liver, bone, blood vessels, heart, CNS and certain hormone responsive breast carcinoma cells also. And the breast carcinoma cells which expresses the ER receptor, they are called ER positive breast carcinoma. If otherwise not estrogen receptor is present, it is called estrogen receptor negative breast carcinoma, that is ER negative. ER receptors which are present in the nucleus, estrogen interact with them, then there is a dimerization. There is a two receptor comes together to form the dimer, then they will interact, then there is a estrogen receptor element on the DNA, okay, from which the mRNA transcription occurs and mRNA is synthesized, and from the mRNA the proteins are synthesized, and then these proteins are responsible for bringing out the further changes. Two types of estrogen receptor, ER alpha and ER beta. ER alpha is present in most of the cells, predominantly in the uterus, vagina, breast, bone and blood vessels, but ER beta is present in ovary mainly in the females and prostate in the males. So estrogen receptors are also present in the prostate. Okay, that's why there is a role of estrogen in preventing the or treatment of carcinoma prostate also. Estradiol, which is the most potent estrogen, it binds with equal affinity to both ER alpha and ER beta. Coming to the pharmacokinetics, estrogens, they are well absorbed orally and transdermally. When we are talking about exogenous estrogen, natural estrogens are inactive orally, but we can give them by injectable route, especially estradiol esters. Okay, injected intramuscular, they are slowly absorbed and have prolonged action. All three, estradiol, estriol and estrol, they are conjugated with glucuronic acid and excreted in the urine and the bile, but enterohepatic circulation can occur which can prolong the action of estrogen. In the synthetic estrogen, ethinyl estradiol is orally active and more potent. T half is 12 to 24 hours. These are the certain preparations and the dosage of estrogen. Preferred route is the oral, intramuscular only in case of the carcinoma prostate. Okay. Estradiol, which is a natural one given only by intramuscular injection. Okay, these are the certain conversion factors or the how the conversion is there of various estrogens. Conjugated estrogen. Okay, this is mainly useful in the treatment of HRT, hormone replacement therapy, and there is a sodium sulfate and some equine sulfate which is added with estrogen or conjugated with estrogen. They are mostly given in the dose of 0.625 to 1.25 milligram per day by oral route, especially in the HRT. While ethinyl estradiol, which is given for menopausal syndrome as well as the oral contraceptive, it is given as a 0.02 to 0.2 milligram per day oral. If we have to convert in microgram, it is 20 to 200 microgram per day oral. Okay. So obviously 150 to 200 microgram is considered as a high dose estrogen, while 20 to 30 microgram is considered as a low dose estrogen for the HRT as well as for the oral contraceptive. Estradiol is also available in the transdermal patch. Okay, it is called as estradiol TTS, that is a transdermal therapeutic system. It comes in the three sizes 5, 10 and 20 square centimeter, and it contains the amount of estrogen, variable amount of estrogen, respectively 0.025, zero point zero 0.05 and zero point 0.1 milligram. So this is 100 microgram if we have to convert in microgram. Okay, which can give the release of estrogen up to 34 days. Usual dose in the menopause is 0.05 milligram per day. This 10 square centimeter size. Nowadays, it has been advised that rather than giving the continuous therapy of estrogen, which will increase the risk of endometrial carcinoma and venous thromboembolism, cyclic therapy is given 3 weeks on, 1 week off with estradiol transdermal patch, along with progesterone, which is added for last 10 to 12 days of the cycle. Why the progesterone is added? When only estrogen is required for postmenopausal women, then the progesterone prevents the endometrial proliferation and prevent the risk of development of endometrial carcinoma, which is otherwise there with estrogen. That's why for last 10 to 20 days of the cycle, oral progesterone is also added along with cyclical or oral estrogen. What is the advantage of estradiol transdermal over oral? It avoids high hepatic delivery, because of which consequently plasma levels of thyroxine binding globulin, corticosteroid binding globulin, sex hormone binding globulin, that is SHBG, angiotensinogen and clotting factors, they are not elevated. Okay, and risk of thromboembolic phenomenon may not be increased. This is the advantage of giving transdermal estrogen over the oral. In general, the adverse effect of estrogens, especially in the male, it causes suppression of libido, that is, a sexual drive is suppressed, gynecomastia, development of breast in male like female, and feminization. Fusion of epiphysis and reduction of adult stature when estrogen is given to the children. Okay. Stilbestrol, which is one of the non-steroidal estrogen, if given to the pregnant woman, especially in the first trimester, it is teratogenic and it can cause the increased incidence of vaginal and cervical carcinoma, especially in the female offspring. So this is a teratogenic, not to be given in first trimester. In postmenopausal women, estrogen increases the risk of irregular bleeding and endometrial carcinoma. This we have already seen. That's why progestin means progesterone. That is a synonymous, progestin or progesterone. Given concurrently along with estrogen blocks the risk of development of endometrial carcinoma. Estrogen can accelerate the growth of existing breast cancer. Long-term estrogen therapy doubles the incidence of gallstone as well as benign hematoma, and migraine, epilepsy and endometriosis, they are worsened by the estrogen therapy. Now coming to the most important part of the lecture, that is the uses of estrogen, and the most two important uses as an oral contraceptive or even the injectable contraceptive, and for hormone replacement therapy in the post-menopausal woman. So first we will see about the HRT, because in a contraceptive we are going to cover thoroughly in the separate lecture. Okay. So hormone replacement therapy can be asked as a long answer or short answer. What are the symptoms of menopausal syndrome? Once the menstrual function starts or ovary starts stopping the function and menstruation has ceased, that is almost roughly at the age of 48 to 50 or 47 to 52, which is a range. The estrogen is not secreted, and because of cessation of ovarian function and declining of estrogen level, various symptoms happen. The first one is vasomotor disturbances, which is very troublesome, and in that mainly there is a hot flushes. Okay, so there is a hot flushes especially on the face because of vasodilatation, and there is a redness. Then there is a chilly sensation, inappropriate sweating, faintness, chakkar aata hai, paresthesia, tingling sensation, various ache, headache, body ache, myalgia, and various pains. And this happens mostly because of rise in the LH, that is a luteinizing hormone level. The next disturbing feature in the menopausal syndrome is urogenital atrophy, which occurs because of the deficiency of estrogen, vaginal dryness, vulval shrinkage, dyspareunia. There is a pain during the sexual intercourse, vaginitis, itching, urinary urgency, and that can predispose to the various urinary tract infection. Then osteoporosis because of loss of osteoid as well as calcium and thinning and weakening of the bone. Therefore, the minimal trauma can cause the fracture, especially of the bones like the femur, hip, radius, and vertebrae. So, vasomotor disturbances, urogenital atrophy, osteoporosis. Next is the dermatological changes, that is a thinning, drying, and loss of elasticity of the skin, wrinkles, thin and listless ears. So this is responsible for the in the elderly woman, why there is a skin texture is lost, why there is a wrinkles. So mainly that is because of the deficiency of estrogen after the menopause. Then there are certain psychological disturbances as well as cognitive disturbances also. So you can see, आप देख सकते हो 50 से 55 के बीच में women are they are most irritable, having depressed mood, loss of libido, and sometimes loss of self confidence, anxiety, and some dementia. Okay, so this may be responsible because of the deficiency of estrogen, and there is an increased risk of the cardiovascular diseases like coronary artery diseases, myocardial infarction, and the stroke. So we have to prevent all these changes, and that is why we are giving the estrogen. Okay, after giving the estrogens, the vasomotor disturbances they get very much reverse. Okay, but the other change and also the urogenital atrophy and dermatological changes, but psychological and cognitive disturbances or cardiovascular problems and osteoporosis, they are not recovered to the fullest extent, especially if they are the advanced stage. Now coming to the treatment of menopausal syndrome, that is HRT, hormonal replacement therapy, we are giving both in combination estrogen as well as progesterone, or it is also called as a menopausal hormonal therapy, MHT, apart from HRT. It is highly efficacious in suppressing the perimenopausal syndrome. Perimenopause means before menopause, that is a premenopause, and after menopause, there is a postmenopause. Some years of premenopause, some years of postmenopause. That is called perimenopausal syndrome of vasomotor instability. It is highly efficacious in suppressing these psychological disturbances as well as preventing the atropic changes and osteoporosis. Typically, rather than estradiol or ethinyl estradiol, conjugated estrogens are used in a dose of 0.625 mg per day, either cyclically, means 3 weeks on, 1 week gap, or continuously. But there is a trend now to use even lower doses of conjugated estrogen rather than 0.625, 0.3 or 0.45 mg per day. A progesterone is added for last 10 to 12 days, and in the progesterone mostly medroxyprogesterone acetate or norethiosterone 2.5 mg daily is added to prevent the risk of endometrial carcinoma. This is the table which is very much important, and uh, uh, listen carefully every line of this. Okay, what are the current conclusions regarding the HRT? The main indication of HRT is a vasomotor and other symptoms in a woman before the age of 60 years or within 10 years after the menopause. So what is the main indication? किसके लिए start करना है HRT? अगर vasomotor symptoms है तो, hot flushes, chilly sensation ये है तो. But the HRT should be started at the smallest effective dose and for the shortest duration. Young women with a premature menopause clearly deserve the HRT at least till the age of natural menopause. Hysterectomized women जिनमें hysterus मीन्स यूट्रस निकाल दिया है, शुड रिसीव द एस्ट्रोजन अलोन, क्योंकि उनमें एंडोमेट्रियल कार्सिनोमा की रिस्क नहीं है क्योंकि ऑलरेडी यूट्रस निकाल दिया है, तो उनको सिर्फ एस्ट्रोजन अलोन आप दे सकते हो, प्रोजेस्ट्रॉन देने की जरूरत नहीं है. while those with intact uterus should be given estrogen plus progesterone. The option of low dose estrogen alone may be tried if symptomatically effective. जितना हो सके एस्ट्रोजन का डोज हमें कम रखना है, 20 to 30 माइक्रोग्राम यू कैन से, और इन केस ऑफ कॉन्जुगेटेड एस्ट्रोजन 0.3 to 0.45 मिलीग्राम पर डे. Perimenopausal women should be given cyclic HRT rather than continuous HRT, obviously to decrease the risk of endometrial carcinoma. HRT is not the best option to prevent the osteoporosis and fracture, but may be used in the woman less than 60 years of age. ऑस्टियोपोरोसिस और फ्रैक्चर्स को प्रिवेंट करने के लिए अगर कोई बेस्ट ड्रग है तो दे आर बिसफॉस्फोनेट्स, दैट इज एलिंड्रोनेट, इट्रिड्रोनेट, जोलिंड्रोनेट, ओके, रादर देन एस्ट्रोजन. HRT offers the protection against the coronary artery disease only in early postmenopausal women. But certain trials have proved that combined HRT at conventional doses may increase the risk of venous thromboembolism, MI and stroke in the elderly woman. Earlier ऐसा बोला जाता था कि estrogen is very protective for cardiovascular purpose, but now most of the trials have also given the opposite results. So we have to use precautiously the HRT, especially when there is an increased cardiovascular risk. प्रीवियसली ऐसा बोला जाता था कि HRT इज प्रोटेक्टिव फॉर द मेमोरी लॉस एंड फॉर प्रिवेंटिंग द कॉग्निटिव डिक्लाइन, बट HRT डज नॉट प्रोटेक्ट अगेंस्ट द कॉग्निटिव डिक्लाइन, मे इंक्रीज द रिस्क ऑफ dementia. Though further trials they are necessary to approve or disapprove this. Combined HRT increases the risk of breast cancer, gallstone and migraine. So better to be avoided, or these are the contraindications for the estrogen and progesterone therapy. Transdermal HRT may have certain advantages over oral HRT, like they avoid the high hepatic delivery and decrease risk of venous thromboembolism. So need for HRT should be assessed in individual women and not to be prescribed routinely. Now coming to the other uses, okay, senile vaginitis. Senile means age-related elderly and vaginitis means inflammation of vagina. So to prevent and treat the atrophic vaginitis, they can be given orally estrogen, or topical creams of estrogen are also available, which can be given in combination with certain antibacterial. Okay. Then delayed puberty in the girls, which can happen because of ovarian agenesis. Ovary नहीं develop हुई है या present नहीं है, so उसको बोलते हैं टर्नर सिंड्रोम, which is one of the genetic syndrome. और हाइपोपिट्यूटरिज्म, पिट्यूटरी की डेवलपमेंट नहीं हुई है, इसके लिए फंक्शनिंग पूरा इम्पेयर हो गया है पिट्यूटरी का. So in both, pubertal changes are brought about by estrogen treatment. Usually cyclical treatment of estrogen is given sometimes along with the progesterone and androgen and along with the human coronary gonadotropin at the age of 13 to 14 years for 4 months. Dysmenorrhea, the meaning is the pain during the menstruation. Okay, पहले 5 दिन जब menstruation होता है तब किसी females को बहुत pain होता है, that is called dysmenorrhea. Obviously NSAID, that is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug like ibuprofen, indomethacin, naproxen, aceclofenac, diclofenac, they are useful by inhibiting the prostaglandin synthesis and by relieving the pain for the first line drugs for dysmenorrhea. But sometimes in the pubertal girls, cyclic estrogen therapy may be beneficial by inhibiting the ovulation, because once the ovulation is inhibited, anovulatory cycles happens, and anovulatory cycles are mostly painless. So these are the other uses of estrogen. There are uses. Yes, acne. So estrogen benefit by inhibiting the ovarian production of androgen by inhibiting the gonadotropin release from pituitary. estrogen अगर आप देते हो exogenously तो वो pituitary को inhibit करता है, वहां से gonadotropin release नहीं होंगे, FSH चलेज, और ऑब्वियसली ओवरीज से फिर एंड्रोजन प्रोड्यूस नहीं होंगे, तो एक्ने को रिग्रेस हो जाएगा. क्योंकि एक्ने क्यों होते हैं? मोस्टली बिकॉज ऑफ इंक्रीज टेस्टोस्टेरोन और एंड्रोजन प्रोडक्शन, both in the male and the female. But estrogen you can give obviously in the female only, not in the male. Cyclic treatment with added progesterone is quite effective. Then the next use is the DUB, that is a dysfunctional uterine bleeding. Dysfunctional uterine bleeding means जब आपको कोई cause समझ में नहीं आता है या और vaginal bleeding continuously हो रही है लेकिन कुछ abnormality नहीं है, कुछ disease नहीं है, fibroid नहीं है, endometriosis नहीं है, तब आप बोलते हो DUB. It is painless uterine bleeding due to anovulation. A progesterone is mainly given to stop the DUB, but along with estrogen it can be given cyclically. Okay, so estrogen have adjuvant value, progesterone is a main role, have the main role in the DUB and for the prevention of bleeding. In the carcinoma of the prostate, mainly GnRH agonist with or without androgen antagonist are preferred. So estrogens are only having a palliative relief by suppressing the androgen production in primary as well as metastatic carcinoma. This is all about the estrogen, its uses, especially the hormone replacement therapy, senile vaginitis, acne, dysmenorrhea, carcinoma of the prostate, delayed puberty. Okay, then we have seen the adverse effect and all that. Now coming to the estrogen receptor agonist and antagonistic drug or modulator. In that, first we will see estrogen receptor antagonist, and the drug is clomiphene citrate. This clomiphene citrate binds to both ER alpha and ER beta, estrogen receptor alpha and estrogen receptor beta. It acts as a pure estrogen antagonist in all human tissues. Okay. It induces, now what is the role of this clomiphene citrate? It induces the gonadotropin secretion, means increase करता है gonadotropin का secretion, means किसका, FSH और LH का. How? By blocking estrogenic feedback inhibition of pituitary. You know, एस्ट्रोजन का फीडबैक इनिबिशन होता है हाइपोथैलेमस में और पिट्यूटरी पे. तो एस्ट्रोजन जब ज्यादा हो जाता है बॉडी में तो वो एफएसएच और एलएच को इनिबिट कर देता है पिट्यूटरी से. बट नाउ व्हाट वी आर गिविंग एस्ट्रोजन एंटागोनिस्ट, सो इट विल फर्दर इंक्रीज द एफएसएच एंड एलएच प्रोडक्शन. एफएसएच एलएच प्रोडक्शन इंक्रीज होता है, ऑब्वियसली एस्ट्रोजन का प्रोडक्शन इंक्रीज होगा, और एस्ट्रोजन का प्रोडक्शन इंक्रीज होगा तो क्या होगा, ओवुलेशन, फॉलिकल्स डेवलप होंगे और ओवुलेशन ज्यादा होगा. So amount of LH and FSH is released at each secretory pulse is increased. In response, the ovaries enlarge and ovulation occurs if the ovaries are responsive to the gonadotropin. That's why clomiphene citrate is useful in the treatment of infertility whenever there is a problem or failure of ovulation. But antagonism of estrogen is responsible for one of the adverse effects, that is the hot flushes. So what is the uses of clomiphene? Is a infertility. So if you are, anyone asks you the drugs useful for the treatment of infertility, one of the first drug is the clomiphene citrate. So it is used in the infertility whenever there is a infertility is due to the failure of ovulation. It is given as a 50 milligram once daily for 5 days starting from 5th day of the cycle. मीन्स पहले 4 days menstruation हो गया है, अभी 5th day पे क्या स्टार्ट हुआ है, फॉलिकुलर फेज स्टार्ट हुआ है, तब आप स्टार्ट करना है क्लोमिफिन. And then it is given for 5 days, means till the 9th days, you can say till the 9th day. ट्रीटमेंट इज गिवन मंथली. सो सिर्फ महीने में 5 दिन देना है, उसके बाद स्टॉप कर देना है, ऐसे आपको मंथली देना है. कंसेप्शन ऑकर्स इन मेनी वुमन हु वेर प्रीवियसली अमिनोरिक, जिनमें पहले मेंस्ट्रुएशन नहीं होता था, ऐसे में कंसेप्शन जनरली होता है और फर्टिलिटी होती है, और हैड एन ओवुलेटरी साइकिल. If 1 to 2 month treatment does not result in conception, the daily dose may be doubled for 2 to 3 cycles. 50 की जगह 100 करो, फिर 100 की जगह 200 करो, but maximum 200 milligram per day, not beyond that. Addition of menotropins, that is FSH or LH, or SCG, that is a human chorionic gonadotropin, on last 2 days of the course, means 5 में से लास्ट के 2 डेज पे अगर आप FSH और LH ऐड करते हो, जो एक्सोजिनसली दे सकते हैं, उसके भी इंजेक्शंस आते हैं, या फिर SCG, then it will improve the success rate of ovulation and the treatment of infertility. Another uses of clomiphene is to aid the in vitro fertilization, जिसको हम टेस्ट ट्यूब बेबी बोलते हैं, कि इन विट्रो की आइदर फीमेल मेल में कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम है इनफर्टिलिटी का, तो हम क्या करते हैं, IVF करते हैं, बाहर फर्टिलाइजेशन करते हैं स्पर्म और ओवम का, एंड देन वी इम्प्लांट दैट इनटू द यूट्रस. सो क्लोमिफिन गिवन with gonadotropins, it causes synchronous maturation of several ova, क्योंकि उसके लिए हमें क्या करना पड़ता है, ओवम तो निकालना पड़ेगा फीमेल से और मेल से ऑब्वियसली स्पर्म. सो ओवम निकालने के लिए हमें क्या चाहिए, बहुत सारे ओवा मैच्योर होने चाहिए ओवरी में, और वो मैच्योरेशन करने के लिए we have to give the clomiphene along with gonadotropins, that is FSH, LH or SCG, and then with the endoscopic or further procedure the particular ova are picked through the ovary by the gynecologist or infertility specialist, and then they improve and then the harvesting is done of ova, and then the mating is done with the sperm for the IVF. So this is a next use apart from the infertility. And another use in the male infertility also, whenever there is a oligozoospermia. Oligozoospermia means the less count of the sperm in the semen. So in men also, clomiphene increases the gonadotropin secretion. So testosterone secretion is increased. So they promote the spermatogenesis and testosterone secretion. In the men, the dosage schedule is slightly different. 25 milligram daily is given for 24 days in a month, okay, with 6 days rest, and this can be tried up to the 6 month. उसके बाद अगर रिजल्ट नहीं आता है तो स्टॉप कर दो, बट दिस हैज लो सक्सेस रेट इन द मेल. What are the adverse effects? At the simultaneously, it may causes the maturation of various ovaries. So, and the ovaries become larger in the size, and the various graphene follicles have developed. So, polycystic ovaries and multiple pregnancies, especially chances of twins are there whenever we are giving the clomiphene citrate. So, this has to be looked after. Hot flushes, gastric upset, vertigo, risk of ovarian tumor. This is asked most of the time as a MCQ. Multiple pregnancy or twin, polycystic ovaries is a side effect of which drug? So that is a clomiphene citrate. Next, coming to the selective estrogen receptor modulator. Okay, that is also called as a SERM. And the modulator, I have already told you, they are agonist as well as antagonist. Agonist at certain sites, antagonist at certain sites of estrogen receptor. The three drugs are there: tamoxifen citrate, which is useful mainly in the breast carcinoma; raloxifene, which is mostly useful for prevention and the treatment of osteoporosis; and torimifen, which is a tamoxifen analog and having the uses as well as adverse effects similar to that of the tamoxifen citrate. Now coming to the first drug, tamoxifen citrate. It acts as a potent estrogen antagonist in the breast carcinoma cells and blood vessels. That's why it is useful in the treatment of breast carcinoma. क्योंकि breast carcinoma का क्या रीजन होता है? Estrogen excess होने की वजह से. इसलिए आप उसमें tamoxifen दे सकते हो क्योंकि ये estrogen को antagonize कर रहा है. But it acts as a partial agonist in uterus, bone, liver and pituitary. बोन में एगोनिस्टिक है तो यूजफुल है, ओके, बट यूट्रस में ये यूजफुल नहीं है. एंटी एस्ट्रोजेनिक एक्शन की वजह से क्या हो सकता है? इनहिबिशन ऑफ ह्यूमन ब्रेस्ट कैंसर सेल्स एंड हॉट फ्लशेस. सो दिस इज अ गुड वन. बट वीक एस्ट्रोजन एगोनिस्टिक एक्शन इज प्रेजेंट इन द यूट्रस व्हिच कैन कॉज द एंडोमेट्रियल proliferation, okay, which is responsible, maybe causing the endometrial carcinoma. Improvement in the bone density, which is again beneficial. Decrease in the total and LDL cholesterol, which is again beneficial, but increases the risk of DVT or deep vein thrombosis by 2 to 3 times, which is not beneficial, obviously harmful. Tamoxifen uses. Till recently, tamoxifen is a standard treatment of breast cancer in both pre and post-menopausal women. But nowadays, aromatase inhibitors, which we are going to see in the last slides, letrozole type of the drug, they have gained popularity in especially in the post-menopausal women. In the early cases, tamoxifen is given post mastectomy adjuvant therapy. Post mastectomy means breast cancer हुआ है और आपने breast remove कर दिया, ओके, उसको बोलते हैं mastectomy. आफ्टर पोस्ट mastectomy कुछ अगर ब्रेस्ट कैंसर सेल्स परसिस्ट रह गए तो एज एडजुवेंट थेरेपी हम जब देते हैं तो टैमोक्सिफेन दिया जाता है इन अर्ली केसेस. लेकिन एडवांस केसेस है जिसमें मेटास्टेसिस हो चुका है, वहां पे इट इज ओनली अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट ऑफ पैलिएटिव ट्रीटमेंट अपार्ट फ्रॉम अदर एंटी कैंसर ड्रग. रिस्पॉन्स रेट्स आर हायर इन ER पॉजिटिव ब्रेस्ट कैंसर. जो ब्रेस्ट कैंसर है जिन पे ईस्ट्रोजन रिसेप्टर एक्सप्रेस होते हैं, इसकी भी टेस्ट करती है ईस्ट्रोजन रिसेप्टर है कि नहीं ब्रेस्ट कैंसर में. अगर ER पॉजिटिव है तो रिस्पॉन्स रेट्स ज्यादा हाई होते हैं फॉर द टैमोक्सिफेन. It is the only FDA approved drug for primary as well as metastatic breast cancer in pre-menopausal women, क्योंकि aromatase inhibitors pre-menopausal women में नहीं दिए जाते. They are given only in post-menopausal women. Also effective in surgically treated cancer of male breast. Tamoxifen causes 45% reduction in the incidence of ER positive breast cancer, so it is also approved for primary prophylaxis of breast cancer in high risk women. ब्रेस्ट कैंसर हुआ नहीं है लेकिन होने के चांसेस है केस किन वुमेन्स में, जिनके सिस्टर में है, मदर में है, फर्स्ट डिग्री रिलेटिव में है, ऐसे पेशेंट में आप प्रोफाइलैक्सिस भी दे सकते हो टैमोक्सिफेन, ताकि ना हो, या फिर एक ब्रेस्ट में हो चुका है वन साइडेड, सो टू प्रिवेंट इन द अनदर साइड ब्रेस्ट कैंसर वी कैन गिवन एज अ प्रोफाइलैक्सिस. Again, it can reduces the recurrent rates. So for post-menopausal women, for first 2 years, tamoxifen is given and then aromatase inhibitors are given. While in the premenopausal woman, whole for 5 years, tamoxifen is given after mastectomy. It can cause improvement in the bone mass and the lipid profile, but risk of endometrial carcinoma is there. For male infertility, it can be used as an alternative to the clomipene citrate. Pharmacokinetic important is biphasic plasma half-life of 10 hours and the 7 days. 20 milligram per day is a daily dose which can be increased up to the 40 milligram. But hot flushes and menstrual irregularities and increased risk of venous thromboembolism are the side effects. Another drug in the SERM, that is a modulator, is a raloxifene. It is agonistic on bone and the cardiovascular system, but antagonistic in endometrium and breast. That's why raloxifene is a second line drug for the prevention and treatment of osteoporosis in the post-menopausal woman. Calcium and vitamin D supplements obviously have to give to enhance the benefit, but bisphosphonate type of the drug like alendronate, zoledronate or the etodronate, they are the first line drug for osteoporosis in the post-menopausal woman rather than raloxifene or rather than estrogen. Raloxifene prevents the bone loss and increases the BMD, that is the bone mineral density, by 0.9 to 3.4%. It also reduces the LDL cholesterol. It also reduces the risk of breast cancer, and there is no risk of endometrial carcinoma. It can be given as an oral route, and the side effects are like the tamoxifen, that is hot flushes and vaginal bleeding, and increased risk of DVT. Another drug which is very well only drug in this category till date is a selective estrogen receptor down regulator. Rather than modulator, this is a down regulator, and the drug is fulvestrant. This is a pure estrogen antagonist. It is introduced for the treatment of locally advanced or metastatic ER positive breast cancer in post-menopausal women which has stopped responding to the tamoxifen. So it is one of the alternative to the aromatase inhibitor in the post-menopausal woman. It inhibits the ER dimerization, estrogen receptor dimerization, so that estrogen receptor interaction with a DNA is prevented and receptor degradation is enhanced. So it is causing degradation of receptor. That's why it is receptor down regulator. The ER receptor is thus down regulator, resulting in more complete suppression of ER responsive gene function. It is administered as 250 to 500 milligram monthly intramuscular injection in the buttock. It is slowly absorbed and has an elimination t-half of more than 1 month. Therefore एक बार महीने में सिर्फ एक बार इसका इंट्रामस्कुलर इंजेक्शन देना पड़ता है फल्वेस्ट्रन का. Last class of the drug are aromatase inhibitor, which are inhibiting the ring A aromatization of testosterone and androstenedione into the estrogen. So estrogen का synthesis कम होगा तो breast cancer में वो useful होगा. Okay, क्योंकि मेनोपॉज तो हो चुका है, लेकिन एक्स्ट्रा ग्लैंडुलर एरोमेटाइजेशन ऑफ एंड्रोजन विच आर सिक्रेटेड फ्रॉम एड्रिनल ग्लैंड वो तो कंटिन्यू चल रहा है एस्ट्रोजन में, उसको हमें प्रिवेंट करना है. इसके लिए एरोमेटेज इनहिबिटर दे सकते हैं बोथ इन द अर्ली एज वेल एज एडवांस ब्रेस्ट कार्सिनोमा. एडवांस मींस जो मेटास्टेसिस हो चुका है ऐसे केसेस में, बट ओनली इन पोस्ट मेनोपॉजल वुमन, नॉट इन प्री मेनोपॉजल वुमन. There are 3 drugs in aromatase inhibitor: letrozole, anastrozole and exemestane. इस पे MCQ पूछा जाता है. Which of the following is not aromatase inhibitor? तो ये 3 ड्रग दिए और चौथा कोई एक अलग दिया होगा. तो these are the 3 drugs from aromatase inhibitor category. They are given orally 2.5 milligram OD, anastrozole 1 milligram OD. This is the one table which is given also in your book textbook, that what are the differences between tamoxifen and letrozole. Both are useful in the breast carcinoma, but there are the certain differences. Tamoxifen is estrogen antagonist in breast and blood vessels, but agonist in uterus, bone, liver. While letrozole and anastrozole, they are antagonistic at all sites. Tamoxifen is useful for breast carcinoma in premenopausal as well as postmenopausal, but letrozole, they are not useful for premenopausal, only useful for postmenopausal. Tamoxifen is less effective in delaying the recurrence when used as an adjuvant therapy after surgery. Recurrence ये less effective है delay करने के लिए, वापस से chances होने, but aromatase inhibitor are more effective in delaying the recurrence. Tamoxifen can be used as a prophylactic use for breast cancer. Recurrence usually limited to 5 years, and letrozole and anastrozole, they are effective for preventing the recurrence even after 5 years. Tamoxifen causes less delay in the disease progression and lower survival advantage in advanced or metastatic breast cancer. But they are the greater delay in the disease progression and greater survival advantage, so they are better than tamoxifen. They are not effective in failure cases, while aromatase inhibitors are effective in tamoxifen failure cases. Tamoxifen causes endometrial hyperplasia, that's why predisposes to endometrial carcinoma, while there is no such a risk of endometrial hyperplasia and carcinoma in the aromatase inhibitor. No bone loss with tamoxifen, but letrozole causes acceleration of bone loss and predisposes to the fracture. So arthritic type symptoms may occur. Tamoxifen increases the risk of venous thromboembolism, while there is no increase in the risk of thromboembolism. Tamoxifen is improved the lipid profile, but there is no effect on lipid profile. So there are certain pros and cons of each drug. So this is all about the this chapter, estrogen and its antagonist. So estrogen is mainly responsible or used in the treatment of hormone replacement therapy for postmenopausal women and oral contraceptive. Apart from that, it is useful in acne, senile vaginitis, dysmenorrhea, delayed puberty. Then we have seen a estrogen antagonist, clomiphene citrate, which is useful in the treatment of infertility when there is a failure of ovulation, as well as to aid the IVF and in the oligozoospermia. While tamoxifen citrate, an aromatase inhibitor, and fulvestrant, which is a receptor down regulator, they are useful in the breast carcinoma, both early as well as advanced type of the breast cancer. While raloxifene, it is useful in the prevention and the treatment of osteoporosis, but bisphosphonates are the primary drug, especially in the postmenopausal woman. So thank you for the patient listening.